I'm going to tell you the truth. Most men never learn, even after a decade of trial and error. The hidden fetish you think lives in lingerie or in some niche kink forum is actually an experience inside the feminine nervous system. The visceral thrill of being discovered by a man whose attention is selective, whose standards are lived, whose presence is steady, whose leadership is calm, and whose curiosity is surgical. Read that word again with the hyphen, discovered, having the covers gently removed, not exposed, revealed. The private fantasy that keeps returning is not to be impressed with fireworks or overwhelmed with pressure. It is to be seen so precisely that she recognizes herself in your reflection and relaxes into depth because your hands, your words, your time, your frame are clean. To be the exception inside the boundaries of a man who has boundaries. And that is why so many techniques fail. They try to mass-produce uniqueness. They spray low-resolution charm at high-resolution women and wonder why nothing sticks. It has spent years sorting men who promise more than they practice. If you want to be the only one who discovers that fetish in her, you don't start with lines. Evidence that your life works. Evidence that your attention is expensive and generous in equal measure. Evidence that you can pace intimacy without borrowing adrenaline. Evidence that your curiosity has teeth and your kindness has edges. That evidence is built before you meet her, revealed when you do, and confirmed when tension, silence, and conflict try to shake it. Most men never taste this because they're chasing confirmation, not connection. They share their autobiography on date one because silence scares them. They cancel their rituals to be sweet and then resent the person they sacrifice themselves to impress. Their presence says, pick me, and their body says, I'll perform, and her intuition says, no. That place is authored by a man who has done two difficult things. He learned to like his own rhythm, and he learned to read the world in front of him instead of projecting a fantasy onto it. So let's take this from poetry into posture. What are the invisible moves that make you the only man who can discover this private fetish without forcing it? Not by ghosting, not by performing scarcity, but by living with priorities that make permanent access impossible. Your mornings belong to you. Water, light, breath, movement, phone across the room, training gear ready, desk cleared for one purposeful block. Purpose is the metronome that sets your pace with women. Without it, you're a hobby. With it, you're gravity. Viktor Frankl taught that meaning organizes suffering. In daily life, meaning organizes texting and dating. That quiet is the foundation of your signal, not the pseudo-monk pose of pretending you don't care. You make room for 2 beats of silence after an answer because silence is where truth walks in. The rhythm of her laugh when she means it versus when she's being polite. The way her shoulders drop when a topic matters, the micro-hesitation before she declines a story about herself. You record mentally. You make no speech about how observant you are. That is the beginning of discovery, specificity. When you paused before answering that question to protect someone who wasn't in the room, that moved me is oxygen. You're so smart is generic. You cut through the chaos without being unkind. That combination is rare, is precise. If 10 women could receive the same sentence from you, it will not cut. She wants the cut. The cut is how she knows you're present. Presence is how she knows she is safe to unbutton the part of herself she doesn't advertise. But specificity without leadership is only a poem. The feminine does not want a critic, it wants a current. Your leadership is the gentle hand on the small of the night, not a grip. What does leadership look like when you're a stranger and not her boyfriend? It looks like authorship of pace and place. Tuesday or Thursday, 7 p.m. Quiet place with a corner. I prefer Thursday. Not a survey. You don't turn logistics into a test. You don't orbit indecision. You lead a plan or you leave the noise. That's not dominance. That's maturity. You don't audition. You ask questions that surface values, not resume bullets. What skill are you quietly proud of because it took you years to earn? Cunning here is not a game, it's discernment. Consent is not a legal line you step over with paperwork. When interest is clear, you check in with words that sound like your mouth. If it's not the moment, you don't turn cold. The hidden fetish reveals itself in that trust. Every boundary you honor becomes a lever that lowers her armor a little more. You are teaching her body that your desire doesn't endanger her. Most men will never be this man because they hunger more for validation than for truth. Your hunger is for truth. It pays better. Most men spray attention on any performance. A selfie, a thirst trap, a flash of flirtatious power, applause. You are kind and unamused. You do not reward currency designed for strangers. You respond to character. You give more of it. She asks a thoughtful follow-up question about your mission. You invite her into a chapter. The inverse is critical. When she reaches with behavior that asks you to lower your standards, repeated last-minute changes, disrespect to people who can't defend themselves, chaos as a lifestyle, you don't debate. You create distance, calmly. This is not punishment, it's hygiene. Nothing turns it off like a man who will sell his edge to buy a night. If your room whispers chaos, your nervous system will leak, and when you leak, you will reach. Clean the square meters around your bed until they feel like a decision. That's not interior design, that's attraction maintenance. A tidy kitchen is not seductive, it is a promise. It says, life is lighter near me. A woman's hidden fetish is never chaos. If your current is a flood, she won't wade in far enough to show you what you came to see. They disappear for days to seem rare. They withhold warmth to seem valuable. They pretend to have options they don't. That counterfeit leaks under pressure. Your eyes give you away. Your timing is off. The honest path to only is brutal and simple. You constrain your attention so thoroughly to what you actually value that almost no one qualifies for depth. Then you make the one who does feel it in her bones, because your attention when given is cathedral quiet and wide. That contrast, edge on the perimeter, kindness at the center, is the high her body will remember after the music and the wine are gone. Let's put you in a room where most men reach for tricks. A warm Thursday, a small jazz bar. You arrived 5 minutes early because rushing shreds presence. You chose a table slightly away from the speakers so you can hear more than your thoughts. She walks in. You stand. The hug is real and brief. You're already different because you're not trying to impress the room. You're trying to meet a person. You open with a very small observation tied to something honest she did. You pick the seat with the better sightline. You always position for perspective, don't you? And then you let silence breathe. 2 seconds is a lifetime for performers. It's oxygen for adults. The conversation moves. You notice an asymmetry in her stories. When she talks about obstacles, her energy drops. When she talks about mentorship, her eyes get bright. You ask, who believed in you when you didn't yet? 10 minutes later, you know the shape of her loyalty and the flavor of her grief. Not because you pried, because you asked a precise door-opening question and stopped talking long enough for her to walk through it. If you think women are immune to the high of being understood, watch her posture after she hears herself say something true in your presence. That shift, the half-inch of melting, the tiny exhale, that's the fetish turning its face toward you. At some point, she will test your edges, not to play games, but to calibrate. Maybe she teases a boundary. You're the type who needs everything planned, aren't you? The insecure man defends and performs spontaneity to escape a label. You inform. I plan when it serves depth. I leave space around the edges for life. You don't jab back. You don't argue for your personality like a defendant. You stay steady. Calibration is complete. She files the data. He can hold teasing without fawning. His standards are flexible, but not elastic. Hidden fetish fed, safety with a spark. Texting between dates is where men prove whether they can create anticipation or if they need sedation. The wrong move is to keep the balloon in the air with small taps. Good morning, good night, how is your day every hour? Because novelty is a toddler that never sleeps, and it will teach you to feed it forever. You feed memory instead. You send fewer, richer messages that advance the story you're building together. You refer to the sentence she said that only someone who was listening would remember. You propose specifics, not vibes. You take the conversation somewhere in the world. Bookstore Thursday, the park you mentioned at sunset, that hole in the wall with 6 tables. And then you go live your life because the next 2 hours are for deep work, and the next 90 minutes are for iron, and the next 30 are for dinner. You cooked yourself. She feels 2 truths at once. You are into this, and you are not interruptible by it. That paradox is the engine of healthy pursuit. Let's say chemistry builds. You're on a couch, music low, conversation warm. This is where boys turn intensity into pressure. They rush because fear is in the driver's seat whispering, if not now, never. You ask for what you want without wait. I want to kiss you. If the answer is yes, you meet the moment. If the answer is no or not yet, you soften and return to the conversation without withdrawing affection, like a child who had candy taken away. That single move communicates more about your masculinity than 1,000 gym hours. It says your body is led by a man. It says your desire is a gift, not a trap. It says depth is the game, not a scoreboard. The hidden fetish opens in that climate because every no you honor becomes a yes she owns later. In that space, surrender isn't giving up power, it's choosing to relax power with someone who earned it. Conflict will arrive if this is real. This is where your uniqueness either hardens into trust or dissolves into the same story she has lived before. She cancels last minute twice. You don't pretend it's nothing and you don't punish. You bring clarity like a grown man. I like the energy here. I plan my week. If we're going to do this, I need confirmations the day before. Period. No long explanation to manage her perception. No TED talk about respect. If she adjusts, attraction compounds because her nervous system just learned your standards speak for you. If she doesn't, you step back. Not ghosting, clean exit. I'm going to pass. The schedules aren't aligning. Then you stop. That sentence will separate you from 90% of men because it reveals that you, 1, negotiate your dignity to keep a connection. The fetish you're protecting is hers and yours. Intimacy built on reality, not on excuses. There's a darker room you must learn to enter, your own shadow. The parts of you that want to over-explain, to chase, to flood attention, to spectate her social feeds at 1 a.m. Those parts learn to survive by being loud. You don't kill them, you re-educate them. When anxiety yanks your hand toward your phone, you move your body first. Push the ground away until your muscles remind your mind who leads. Cold water, breath, a page in a notebook. Then, when you can be proud of your next sentence, if read out loud to your future children, you send it. That rule, and you obey it, will keep you from destroying your signal when you're vulnerable. Carl Jung didn't romanticize the shadow. He asked you to integrate it. Integration looks like catching your hunger before it negotiates your standards away. Kindness survives this upgrade, but its economics change. You don't use kindness to buy access. You use kindness to reveal your character. You bring an extra hoodie when she forgets the temperature drops by the river after 8. You walk her to the car with a smile that asks for nothing. You notice how she takes her coffee and replicate it next time. You text, "Home safe?" Simple, clean. There is no ledger. You will be tempted to keep a secret scoreboard where every gesture earns a point. Burn the scoreboard, keep the gestures, pair them with boundaries. Tenderness with edges is irresistible because it lets her be soft without inviting you to become small. If you want your presence to hit like a private song only she can hear, become a man who keeps promises no one knows about. That is where the hum comes from. The low frequency in your voice when you speak slowly, the ease in your gaze when you hold eye contact. The way your laugh is unhurried because your life doesn't require applause to make sense. You trained 5 times this week and slept like a responsible animal. You did 1 block of deep work daily, and your craft advanced a centimeter. You cooked 3 meals that fueled your head. You cleaned that 1 surface nightly so your mornings don't start with friction. You bought fewer things and invested a little more. You said no to 3 invitations that would have bled your week. You honored a boundary once without a paragraph. You wrote down 1 standard and lived it. That stack of private receipts changes your posture more than any performance. When you sit across from her, your body does most of the talking, and her body will listen. Now I want to tell you exactly what the hidden fetish feels like from the inside, so you know when you were close. It is the sensation in her of being the only woman in the room, not because you made everyone else disappear, but because you made the room disappear, not forever, in slices. 10 minutes where your attention makes the world go quiet. 10 minutes where your eyes say, I see this specific thing you just did, and it matters to me. 10 minutes where your time has a spine and your warmth has no invoice. 10 minutes where your leadership removes friction and your humor removes tension and your standards remove doubt. She doesn't feel trapped. She feels held in a shape that lets her explore against a boundary that doesn't move. If you provide those slices, over dates, over texts, over moments in kitchens and on sidewalks and in the soft middle of goodbyes, she will begin volunteering the material you could never ask for. The secret fears, the fierce loyalties, the desire patterns that make her brain light up. Not because you extracted them, but because you gave her to herself in your presence. That is the fetish, the thrill of being unveiled by a man who didn't come to take, but to witness and lead. Will every woman respond to this? No. People carry histories that make trust take longer. Some will look for chaos because chaos is familiar. Some will want a show because shows are easy to grade. That's good news. Your signal filters. You're not building a theater for the masses. You're building a doorway for one person. The men who get lost keep changing their doorway to catch more traffic. You don't widen the door, you strengthen it. The right woman recognizes the architecture because she built her own. Here is the part where I warn you against counterfeits. You will be tempted to fake precision by memorizing lines that sound specific but aren't. You will be tempted to fake leadership by over-controlling. You will be tempted to fake selectivity by punishing. You will be tempted to fake calm by dissociating. You will be tempted to fake mystery by withholding basic humanity. Every counterfeit springs from fear, and fear smells like metal. If you catch it, slow down. Add 1 honest habit. Keep 1 promise. Make 1 clear invitation. Say 1 clean no. Clean is felt. Fear is smelled. You cannot spray cologne on fear. You can only build a body that doesn't need to hide. If you need a blueprint for the next 7 days, here it is without fanfare. Mornings, water, light, breath, movement, 1 deep work block. Afternoons, craft, logistics, 1 act of service that costs you a little and buys someone else a lot. Evenings, connection or learning, not noise. 1 page in a notebook answering 2 questions. Where did I keep a standard? Where did I sell one? 1 text sent with presence, 0 sent to sedate anxiety. 1 space cleaned, bedtime taken seriously because tomorrow deserves you. Stack that for a week and notice what changes in your tone. Stack it for a month and watch how women who live in drama lose interest while the one you actually want starts mirroring your pace. Stack it for a quarter and notice how your humor gets kinder, your eyes get steadier, your no gets shorter, and your yes gets louder. That is what only feels like from the inside. 1 more scene before you go. You're at her door after a night that moved both of you. You're not trying to script an ending. You feel the calm that comes from having nothing to prove. You say what is true. I like tonight. I want to see you again. Sunday, 6 p.m., that bookstore you mentioned. You let the moment decide if it wants a kiss. If it doesn't, the hug is warm and brief. You step back. You look her in the eyes a second longer than comfort requires, not to dominate, but to honor that this was real. Then you leave. 5 steps away, you exhale and smile because you didn't perform. You were precise, you were selective, you were kind with edges. You were leading without theater. You didn't touch any line the law draws or your soul draws. And you know, without needing a reply in 5 minutes, that the thing you re-offering is rare enough to be remembered in 10 hours and in 3 days. If she's built for this, she will lean. If she isn't, your life is too full to suffer for a maybe. That peace in your chest is attraction's true engine. The title promised a secret. You have it now. The hidden fetish is not a prop or a paragraph. It is the experience of being the exception inside the standards of a man whose presence tells the truth. You become the only one who discovers it by making your attention so selective, your leadership so gentle, your boundaries so calm, your curiosity so specific, and your life so coherent that her body learns, in your company, to put its armor down without losing its dignity. Most men will never build that signal because it can't be faked this weekend. That's your advantage. Decide tonight that you will build the life first and let the woman you want discover herself in your presence later. Make one vow before you sleep. I will not chase novelty to avoid the work. I will not purchase access with self-betrayal. I will not confuse pressure with power. I will lead with specifics, guard my mornings, pace my nights, reward character, and let silence x-ray what words can't. The man who lives that vow doesn't need to promise he'll be the only one. He becomes it by default. Because in a loud world of performers, a quiet man with standards is the rarest fetish of all.